Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex, my co-host Anthony, the Great Rivardo. Today we're doing fan mailbag questions, so thank you guys for dropping the cues on Twitter, and we'll get as many as we can possibly get to. There's some really, really good ones regarding this week's game. I wanted to get this out before the game so we had some insight into what to expect from Colt McCoy, this offense. Obviously today, which is Friday, the Giants ruled Daniel Jones as doubtful for the contest, so it's very unlikely that he actually plays. Nonetheless, we should really expect to see a lot of running the football, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about with Wayne Gallman and this offense very shortly. But before we dive into the fan questions, Anthony, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I wish Daniel Jones would be able to play on Sunday, but it doesn't seem likely. But that's okay, because it seems pretty likely that he'll be ready next week, so we can be excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's a one-week injury based on the fact that he's been moving. He did some speed drills. He's been throwing the football. If you have a hamstring, a bad injury like Austin Eckler did, you can't even walk. You know, you're in like crutches. It's a really, really bad injury for your hamstring. That specific muscle is very difficult to come back from. But it seems like it was more of a tweak than a pull. I would use that kind of terminology. A tweak would make more sense because 1 week out, just don't want to re-injure it, play it safe. The Seattle game was always going to be an uphill battle for the Giants. But if they can remain competitive, Daniel Jones returns against Arizona, who have had some trouble the past couple weeks finishing games. It'll be really exciting to see. I think they just came off a loss against the Patriots. So, Patriots aren't a really good team this year. So we've seen that there are squads that are beatable, in this upcoming 4 games of winning football teams. But nonetheless, I want to jump right to these questions with Philip Santana, one of our very loyal subscribers. Much love to you, Philip. Always love to see you interacting. Obviously, we're going to shout out everybody here because you guys are all awesome. The first question is, what do we think the scheme will be with Colt McCoy? And Anthony, I'm going to let you take that one away.
I think it's going to be a lot of running the football. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, though, because Seattle has a terrible defense because of their pass defense. Their run defense is actually pretty solid if you look at the stats. But they are allowing over 400 yards per game and like 300-something yards through the air, like a historically terrible number through the air. They're just allowing every quarterback to tear them to shreds. That's why it's really disappointing that Daniel Jones got injured right before this game, because this could have been like a breakout career performance for Jones, similar to last year against Washington when he had 5 touchdowns and 0 turnovers. This really could have been that game. If you look at the schedule, this could have been the one where Jones actually throws the ball for a ton of yardage and for a few touchdowns, but it seems doubtful that that's going to happen. So looks like Colt McCoy is going to get out there. I do think they are going to try and take some shots and try and take advantage of some of those matchups, since we do have, talented playmakers like Evan Engram, Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate can get busy. Darius Slayton as well. Hopefully he shows up, because he's been a little bit inconsistent. So I do think that Colt McCoy will take some shots. I think they'll throw the ball, but it looks like it's going to be, mostly a ground and pound game for the Giants, which I'm not sure is a winning formula against this defense. But nevertheless, it's pretty much what you have to do, because you have to keep your backup quarterback comfortable when he's starting a game. And I think that's the best way to do it, is to run the ball a lot and just don't ask him to do too much. So that's probably going to be the game plan this week, I would assume.
Yep, I agree. Wayne Gallman is the guy. We're going to have to really rely on him. The problem, like you mentioned, is that Seattle's defense is historically bad because of their secondary. They have Shaquille Griffin, Trey Flowers, they have, I think his name is Ugo Amadi. He's their slot cornerback. He's pretty good, actually. And Shaquille Griffin's also decent, but it seems like their chemistry has just been really bad. They're really bad against the deep ball. Don't have that speed back there. Their safeties are questionable. So this is a game where I would love to see these spray fade routes from Evan Engram and taking these shots downfield against that weak secondary. Because realistically, like we've said, we expect the Giants to be running the ball very heavily during this game. And because of that, I imagine that Seattle will probably stack the box. I would really like to see the Giants do some max protect, try and get Wayne Gallman going, and then really activate play action and get Evan Engram on those deep 9 routes, just moving down the field and really try to throw him open. Colt McCoy is no joke, by the way. He's not a great quarterback, as we know he's a backup after all, but he's not a guy that we should just say, okay, he's not going to make those downfield throws. He's not going to take shots. The guy was a Heisman runner-up at Texas coming out of college, so we know he has talent. It's just a matter of him, actually utilizing the scheme to what it's actually capable of doing. My major problem is that the Giants have built in running the football from the quarterback position into their system. And without Daniel Jones, Jones. You don't have to worry about zone reads. They don't have to worry about these read option plays. And that's going to take an entire factor out of the defense, especially one with Seattle that you're trying to keep honest. And they have a top 5 run defense in the league. So I don't imagine that they're going to have much success running the football unless the guys in the trenches just have unbelievable games. And in addition to that, the middle of the field is going to be tough to take advantage of because they have Bobby Wagner at linebacker there. I did see that Carlos Dunlap is questionable for this contest, so that would be a huge bonus for the Giants considering he's their leading sack guy. He's been a monster all season long, and the Giants can really need any advantage they can get at this point. So to review everything that we just said, I expect Wayne Gallman to get maybe 15 to 20 touches on the ground. But I also expect to see Evan Ingram pushing the length of the field. Maybe Darius Slayton take a couple shots downfield. I really, really want Colt McCoy to take those downfield shots. I think he has the arm strength, maybe 40 to 50-yard arm strength. But if you can just toss those balls up and really put them in a decent place where they're not going to get intercepted and really help Evan Ingram with those spray fades that he really took advantage of last week against Cincinnati, I think that they can stretch the field with him, but I do expect there to be a lot of running the football, play action, trying to catch the Seattle Seahawks defense, stacking the box, and then, getting those guys like Ingram into space. So that's really what I expect from the Giants and Colt McCoy because it's going to be a little bit different. They're going to have to make some adjustments, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's really going to be the game plan. Like I said, I hope that they do take some shots because of Seattle's tendency to give up a lot of big plays through the air. So the Giants should definitely take some shots, show some trust in Colt McCoy, allow him to let loose and throw a few bombs out there. The Giants, they're very selective with when they take their shots, right? Like throughout the season, they don't really throw too many deep balls. They wait for the right moment before they throw them. So I expect it to be the same thing with Colt McCoy, because Daniel Jones, he probably throws like 3 deep balls a game usually, right. Where Russell Wilson throws like, 10 to 12, right? But Colt McCoy, I expect him to get his 3 deep shots, and I'm just hoping that he connects on at least 1 or 2 of them, because that could really, keep us in the game or even change the outcome of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And on to the next question by Zach Alexander, another really loyal fan himself. Shout out to Zach,
bro.
Shout out to Zach. Big shout out to Zach. He's always there, always liking, commenting, engaging on YouTube. So much love to you, my friend.
And Twitter and Instagram. That dude's
and
everywhere.
Twitter, everything. He's all over the place. The guy's a real Fireside Giants fan. I know everyone here is as well, so we really appreciate all this unbelievable support. We only want to keep growing and making better content for you guys. We'll do some collabs in the near future as well, because I know everyone likes the collabs.
Among Us stream soon.
Among Us stream soon as well.
We're going to do it this weekend, but I got to go out of town, but hopefully next weekend.
Yeah, we'll do it next weekend. Regardless, the question from Zach, considering the possible likelihood of the Giants moving on from Jason Garrett after this season, how do you think that would affect GJ's development, being that it would be his 3rd playbook in 3 years? So this is a very valid question because a lot of people have asked, is Jason Garrett the guy to lead this offense? I think it's gotten a lot better the last couple of weeks, but again, you have to take things with a grain of salt. You never know when injury is going to strike. We're going to see how this playbook really looks when you have Colt McCoy in there instead of Daniel Jones. Can they succeed? That's the big question. You look at Dallas right now without Dak Prescott. They're still putting up 30 points a game with Andy Dalton. So that Kellen Moore is absolute monster offensive coordinator. We know he is. Can Jason Garrett do something similar? I highly doubt it because Kellen Moore is head and shoulders above him in calling plays, in my opinion. But when it comes to DJ's development, I would say going on to his 3rd playbook in 3 years is going to affect him. We saw this year going into a new playbook, he was really bad. I would say categorize him as really bad the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season, making really. I mean, based on
Garrett
his turnovers,
or
Jones. I would say Jones.
See, I thought Garrett was very bad the first 5 weeks. I thought Jones was doing the best that he could. No, see, I thought Jones was making the most of his opportunities. He was still fumbling and throwing some picks, but over recent weeks he's been really good. But yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Turnovers were a problem, but I don't know. I never thought that he was ever playing that poorly this season, except against Tampa. That was disgusting. But
that was bad. But also, even in Week 1 against Pittsburgh, he had a couple nice drives, but realistically, he did a lot of weird things. Like he would always roll out to the right side of the field. You thought he was great against Pittsburgh. I just can't get that one clip of him.
The one interception, I know.
The one interception and Bud Dupree waiting way too long. That really annoyed the crap out of me, and that's all I think about when I think of the Pittsburgh game. But he did have some really nice throws. Here's the thing about Daniel Jones is that he beats himself. right? I think that his biggest weakness is himself. He has unlimited potential. He's a quarterback that can run, he can pass, he can throw the deep ball. He has good pocket awareness when he's playing at the top of his game. But the second he gets hit, or the second he makes a bad decision, and it becomes something of a problem, he duplicates those things. It starts to compound. That's his problem. We've seen 2.5 games without a turnover. This is a compounding effect. He very much is a product of this positive momentum that he's actually gained the past couple of weeks. But I think that he wasn't great the first couple of weeks. I think we were already talking about moving on from him. We remain positive as we could. Obviously, we want him to be the face of the franchise. He's been fantastic the past 3 weeks. But going into your third playbook in 3 years would hurt his development. At that point, you might be thinking, maybe we do need to draft a quarterback. Maybe we do need to move up in the draft and get somebody like Zach Wilson or Trey Lance. I don't think so. I don't think so personally, but I also don't think Jason Garrett's going to be fired after 1 year. I think that he's done enough with what he's had to work with that he'll be kept for one more season.
I think that's the key. What has he had to work with, right? He had a brand new offensive line with zero continuity across the board throughout the first few weeks of the season. So he had to really change his scheme and alter it based on that. And then also, there is no true number one receiving threat. We thought maybe Evan Engram would break out and be that number one receiving threat. Okay, well, I have a different opinion about Saquon. I think that his absence in this offense particularly has actually really helped the offense. Not, of course, prayers up to Saquon, and he's a tremendous player, but I just think that because there is no receiving threat, like I was mentioning, the running back threat allowed defenses to game plan all around Saquon. Now they have to game plan around a few other players. And so if you have Saquon and you have that receiving threat, like when we had Saquon and Odell, Saquon was able to thrive. Odell was able to go for over 1,000 yards, So once the Giants get that receiving threat and they pair him with Saquon, then Saquon should be a much more efficient part of this offense. But what I'm really saying is he hasn't had a lot to work with Jason Garrett. Once Saquon went down, he didn't have a true playmaker to give the ball to. We thought Evan Engram would step up, and he didn't. He really played really poorly for a while. He had a really good game against the Bengals, but for a while this season, he was kind of atrocious. And then Darius Slayton is like the disappearing act. 1 week he's here and he's going for over 100 yards. The other week he has 0 receptions. So what has Jason Garrett had to work with other than inconsistent playmakers and an up-and-coming offensive line that was really bad at the beginning of the season? Daniel Jones has kind of carried this offense, in my opinion, and I think that he's been the true playmaker week in and week out. He is, for better or for worse, been the entirety of the offense and carried it on his shoulders. Whether he's turning the ball over and we're losing, or if he's keeping the ball clean and we're winning, it's all come down to Daniel Jones, because he is running this offense with really no other true playmakers to share the ball with. And in my opinion, Jason Garrett has definitely earned another year as the offensive coordinator. I think that we have seen serious progression from just about every player on the offense from the start of the season till now, especially Daniel Jones, and that's really the key. You have to see improvement from the quarterback more than anything. The quarterback is the most important position in all of sports. So the development that we've seen from Daniel Jones, in my opinion, has earned Jason Garrett at least another year. I'm totally on board with retaining him, but if they were to fire him at the end of the season, to me, it's not the end of the world. A lot of people are like, you can't do that just because you can't have Daniel Jones learn 3 playbooks in 3 years, right? It could kill his development. I disagree, because if you actually find a better offensive coordinator who's really, really good at his job, right? Like, say, Sean McVay, when he stepped into the Rams, right? He stepped in as a head coach, sure, but he was working with Washington beforehand. If he steps in with just this amazing offensive scheme that anybody can step into and find success in, then Daniel Jones is going to find success. If it's a really good scheme, it'll help him. It'll only help him and make him better. It won't hurt him if it's a good scheme. The problem would be if you fired Jason Garrett and then you hired another guy like, who was that guy that the Steelers had who went to the Browns? Todd Haley, I think his name is. Like, if you were to hire like a retread like that who isn't forward thinking and is just very similar and, to Garrett, you would hurt Daniel Jones in that situation. But if you get like this young up-and-coming guy who knows how to really scheme an offense and he's really, really good, it'll only help him. Like, there's always room for improvement. I don't think it's necessary. I think you stay where you are with Jason Garrett. But if they were to go with a new offensive coordinator, I'm only scared by it because I've been scared by the Giants' hirings in the past. But I'm trusting Joe Judge, who's been phenomenal every step of the way, to get this hiring correct. And then Daniel Jones would thrive because of that. And that's the way that I see it.
Wow, I think that's the most you've ever spoken consecutively.
I know, right? That was like 4 minutes. Ugh.
Get yourself a water break, my friend. Yeah. No, but okay, so I agree with you. The problem obviously is like, how often do you stumble across a really good offensive coordinator that, like, unless you know he's going to be an upgrade. That's my biggest concern with replacing him is like,
right, they're hard
if you
to
replace
find.
him, yeah, you gotta know. You have to know that person's gonna be better than Jason Garrett, who's been in the league for 10 years, longer. So that's my only hesitance toward that. But if you bring in a guy, obviously like Todd McVay, Kevin Stefanski, who's now a head coach, like those guys really, Eric Bieniemy, obviously, but they're not going to be making those moves. They're already there and past it. So right. I would love Pat Shurmur again. Bring him back as an offensive coordinator. He was great.
I wouldn't love that.
So, these are just things to think about. Obviously, I don't think that Jason Garrett will be fired. I think he will be with us for at least another year. But that's to be seen. We'll see what happens the last couple of weeks. The Giants, I think, rank 29th in points per game. So it's not. I mean, look at the defense, man. The defense is ranking 10th in points per game.
Defense has been phenomenal. The offense has been very inconsistent, but we've seen a lot of improvement from the offense in recent weeks. Of course, it doesn't hurt that now Daniel Jones is injured, but once he's healthy, I think they're going to really put everything out there, go balls to the wall, and really start to try and light up the scoreboard in the final weeks of the season, hopefully.
Yep, and like the one thing I'll say about the offense, they have dealt with a lot more injuries, I think, in terms of Saquon. Sterling Shepard was out for a while. 3 rookies on the...
I'll say the defense has lost every single edge rusher.
That's true. They're basically they're at the rookies now. They're at the back end.
We just had a lot of injuries this season, but somehow, some way, the Giants have really done an excellent job replacing those injured players and scheming together
good
games. It's great coaching. Joe Judge, and Joe Judge we trust. I am the number 1 leader of the Joe Judge fan club, and I will be till the day that I die.
Yep, absolutely. Make sure if you're a fan of the Joe Judge fan club, I'm going to be giving away a T-shirt on the Instagram, Fireside Giants. Trying to make that big, how it is. We want to make this really comprehensive.
Is fire.
It's fire, and we want to really bring.
My little brain came up with that.
Yeah, no, he did. His little brain came up with that. But we really want to create, a really, really cool Instagram page where Anthony posts something today, kind of breaking down a coverage, on the defense. So I really like to see, people come and really respect that kind of content, because we're really trying to produce over the top stuff that you can really learn from and enjoy, instead of just like, the updates and whatnot that we also do, that we respect as well. But nonetheless, on to the next one, Big Fish. What are we doing with Solder and Tate's contracts next year? I want to unload their contracts.
Snip,
they're both
snip.
gone. They're both gone. Yeah, they're Big Fish.
You gotta cut them.
Let them go. Let the big fishes go. Nate Solder is essentially this is the deal with Nate Solder's contract. If they cut him pre-June 1st, they only save $6 million in cap space. If he's a post-June 1st cap cut, they save $10 million. So they're going to cut him. It's going to happen. $10 million. You could re-sign Logan Ryan with that. And then you have Golden Tate, who I think has an out after this year. It counts about maybe $4 million against the cap, I believe. But I think they save about $6 million there too. I mean, $6 million, you allocate that toward A-Rob or Kenny Golladay, who's consistently injured this year, or anybody else really. That's money that we need, and Golden Tate doesn't provide enough that he's justifiably earning $10 million next year. So I imagine both of them will be gone.
Yeah, I think you got to cut both of them. The Giants are going to be really tight on cap space if they don't, and neither of them are big impact players. I think, Nate Solder's already been replaced by Andrew Thomas, and it looks like Matt Peart's going to be ready to take over at right tackle in the coming weeks. So there's no point to have Nate Solder on this roster. You try and cut him and free as much cap space as possible. Golden Tate, he got benched earlier this year. He's really like the third receiving option, kind of the fourth if you consider Shepard, Slayton, Engram, and then it's kind of Golden Tate. That's kind of the pecking order, depending on the week.
Austin
it really depends. But, so I think that you can move on from him. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much of him. I think we'll just see him on special teams. But we'll see. You never know.
I agree.
An injury happens. He'll be in the lineup, so you never know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Also, a little update I got on my phone just now. Carlos Dunlap has a foot injury, so that would be a humongous loss for them this week. I mean, the Giants' offensive line's been playing well, but Carlos Dunlap is a proven commodity. The guy dominates, so not having him would really help the Giants' offense. So we'll see what happens there. But on to the next question. Joseph Michael, another big fan of ours, really big shout out to Joseph. Assessing the team right now and figuring Tate will not be back, should the Giants spend an early draft choice on a receiver? I don't think that they should send a first rounder, but I think a second rounder would suffice. This is a really deep draft. Think about where the Pittsburgh Steelers got Chase Claypool this year towards the end of the second round.
All right, but I'll say that was like a historically deep wide receiver class, and this one has the potential to
it's
be
a lot.
as well, but last year was like
Olave.
insane. Last year you had first round talents legitimately in the second and third round. Like
I would take Chris Olave in the second round. Give me him in the second round.
Second round, I would love a wide receiver. I would totally be happy with one in the first round, especially if we're choosing in the back end of the first round, which I'm expecting us to be because I'm expecting a deep playoff run this year. So,
yeah, me too. Honestly, the NFL every team, in my opinion, is beatable. Every team is beatable. Pittsburgh just lost Bud Dupree. They actually
every team is beatable because
Ravens.
the most unbeatable team of all time, the Giants, beat in the Super Bowl 42. So every team is beatable.
Exactly. Also, I mean, even the Chiefs have lost a couple games this year. You never know when a guy is just gonna, turn the ball over a couple times or just one play difference. An injury happens mid-game to a quarterback and something. You never know. The sports are so volatile. Anything is possible. So the Giants, the Giants have a chance, but we'll see how this goes. Obviously, making the playoffs is the first step to the recipe, but. I would say to finalize this question, I think that it's definitely reasonable to think the Giants could spend an early draft choice on a receiver. Whether it's a first or second rounder, I would be more than fine with either of those picks.
Me too.
Right?
Yep. I definitely want one.
All right.
At least in free agency.
On to the next question. Yeah, all right. So we're going to get a receiver one way or another. That's for sure. But on to the next question by Curtis J. Appreciate you. Do you think our defense would suffer greatly if Pat Graham was to leave us? Hope this doesn't become a reality. Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about this right now because we know the answer. I've been trying to spur the sarcasm that he's terrible and trying to put it all over social media.
He's
terrible.
Bad.
He's the worst defensive coordinator because he hates his players. The players hate him. They don't want to play for him. All of the above.
His coverages are bland. He never disguises them. His blitzes are boring. He's terrible, man. No. Everything we said, the opposite is true. Patrick Graham has been phenomenal. And yeah, I do think that our defense would suffer if he wasn't around. I would hope, in that scenario, the Giants would find the best candidate in-house and promote him to the job to try and keep some continuity.
I like Jerome Henderson.
And try and keep Patrick Graham's scheme in place. That's what I would want. And try and keep the same mindset as Patrick Graham. Just coach the same. Just be a Patrick Graham clone is what I would hope for. But, that would be difficult. But I do think that Patrick Graham is a very strong head coaching candidate. I just really hope the fact that he's the assistant head coach for the Giants, that is one of his official titles, he's that and the defensive coordinator, I hope that means he's getting paid close to a head coach's salary and he's totally okay with working alongside Judge for an extended period of time and doesn't want to leave. That's what I'm hoping for because, like I said, he is a very strong candidate, but we need to keep him around. He is phenomenal. He's very smart. If you ever listen to any interview that he's done, he is a really smart guy, really likable guy. Players love him. I love him. I want him to be here for a long, long time.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think he's leaving anytime soon because how often do you really think coaches they don't want to keep moving jobs. They have kids, they have families that are in the area. That's why the New England coaching tree, those guys barely ever leave. They're there for a decade, and then eventually they go. But I don't think that Patrick Graham's leaving anytime soon. And in addition to that, I think Eric Bieniemy should be the first coach picked up. If there's a head coaching vacancy, I think he's the first option. He's coming from a winning organization with years of experience behind Andy Reid, one of the best coaches in history.
Robert Saleh from San Francisco.
Robert Saleh,
that's another one.
Right?
I think that those are actually stronger candidates than Patrick Graham. I think Patrick Graham would be a very out-of-the-box hire if a team were to hire him. But I do think it would be a great hiring for them. So hopefully he doesn't hire or nobody hires him. I want him to stay with
exactly.
us.
I think he'll stay with the Giants for a while. So I'm not too worried about that. But if he did leave, it would be devastating. It would be terrible. I don't even want to think about it. But on to the next question by one fishy scientist, like the name. Since this coaching staff brings out the best in its players, do you think that we see McCoy play his best football of his career with the Giants? The Browns and the Washington football team probably didn't do him any favors, which is where he used to play. If it was a defensive player, I'd probably say yeah. But because it's our offensive player and Jason Garrett hasn't blown me away this year, and we don't really have that many big-time playmakers that can blow a game open like OBJ or Saquon. I honestly don't really believe that McCoy is going to have like the best game of his career. I think he'll be average, maybe average.
He's going to play
best.
that game manager role that Jason Garrett was trying to make Daniel Jones play in the first few weeks of the season, that game manager role where they just, that's probably what it's going to be. Minimal deep shots, but everything is going to be underneath. Evan Engram hook routes and, little hook nods, all that stuff. So that's pretty much what I'm expecting. Best football of his career? I doubt it. But I don't think he's going to be a monumental issue in this game. I just don't think he's going to be the player that's going to propel us to victory is the only problem. I think Daniel Jones possibly could have been that player. Like you said, uphill battle against the Seahawks, but Jones has been playing really well. But no, I think that I don't think McCoy is going to kill us. I don't think he's going to be so bad that, we just lose, but I don't see him having like a career day because, as bad as the Seahawks defense is, it's an experienced team. I don't know. I feel like they're going to be prepared for a backup quarterback. They probably got something up their sleeve.
I would expect a lot of hot reads, honestly, to Evan Engram. I think they're going to use him a lot because Bobby Wagner is one of the best run stopping. And he's really good in coverage too. But I think that Evan Engram just has that elite speed that he can get past Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm going to assume that Jamal Adams is going to be the guy that's on Evan Engram for most of the game. He's going to get down in the box and he's going to be on Engram. So that could be potentially a problem. He has been struggling, but if there's a week for him to turn it on,
it's against the Giants.
This is this week. We saw him destroy us last year on the Jets. That was
brutal.
That was brutal.
All right. Well, I think overall we can say we believe that Colt McCoy will probably have an average game manager style game, similar to what Daniel Jones was doing earlier in the year. Maybe he'll take some shots downfield. I think Colt McCoy actually likes to take shots. I think he really does. I saw him take a couple last week in half a game. So I'm interested to see how they use him. But realistically, it's an uphill battle. But on to the next question, New York Giants Central. What do you think the Giants should do with Saquon Barkley? We love this question. We love this question. I love
this question, but I hate this question.
I know, we love and hate this question, but I'll let you answer first.
Okay. I don't know. I want to try and keep this brief, but that might be tough. With Saquon Barkley, what should they do? I think most fans are going to want to hear me say they should give him a chance to fully come back, and we should wait and see how he plays next season. Okay, what they shouldn't do is they should not extend him anytime soon. They should definitely let him play out his contract and then don't, pick up the 5th-year option, but don't extend him early. Usually that's what you want to do with a running back. You want to extend him early because then you pay less long-term, right? But with Saquon, the injury history is becoming a problem. He was injured a lot of last season. When he came back strong, but now he's injured again, so it's becoming a big red flag, and it's kind of hard to invest long-term in a running back, especially if they can't really stay on the field. So what would I do is how I'm going to answer. It's not what should they do, because I know that everybody has different opinions on that. What I would do is I would move on from Saquon Barkley, because I think, a lot of the viewers know I'm one of those guys that doesn't really value the running back position very much. I think that it's very replaceable. You see Wayne Gallman step in and looks like a really good running back for us, and everyone's like, whoa, how did we not know we had this on the roster? Well, I always knew that we had this on the roster. It's just we had someone better who was getting paid 3-4 times as much, right? So he has to start. But, running backs, man, it's really tough to build a team when you've got so much money invested into the running back position. Look at the Titans. They gave up Jack Conklin to sign Derrick Henry. Conklin looks like one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL this year. That's a huge loss for them. A tackle is definitely more valuable than a running back. I think nearly everybody can agree with that. So, long term, I'm in the boat where I'm pretty much ready to go in a different direction. It's not that I don't like Saquon. I love Saquon, and he's so exciting to watch and all that. I'm just ready to build this team differently. I like the running back by committee approach that won the Giants 2 Super Bowls with Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw. I like that approach. I'd like to see them go back to that and invest more in the offensive line, maybe more in the defense. Build the team that way. I think that's the better way to do it. I think investing a lot in the running back position is really something to do when you are a guaranteed Super Bowl contender and you can make a flashy decision like that. But at this point, for the Giants, as we're still continuing to build this team, Me personally, I would probably want to move on. Not probably. I want to move on from Saquon Barkley, and if I were the GM.
Yeah, and just to give you a good example, look what the Chiefs just did. They just drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he's not having like a record-breaking season. They did better last year with Damian Williams. That's just kind of how running backs go. Sometimes you don't need that.
I'll say the reason that the Chiefs were able to do that is because look at their team. It's stacked.
They are
Like,
a
where
Super Bowl
else were they
contender.
gonna? Yeah, they just came off of a Super Bowl victory. Sure, why not get a running back with the final pick in the first round? But they didn't build that roster by investing a lot into the running back position. They had, like you said, Damian Williams as their starting running back last year, and they went very much with a running back by committee approach all of last season. And they had Kareem Hunt before that, and he was drafted in the 4th, 5th round, somewhere late, right? And he was great, but they also went with a running back by committee approach with him, rotated him out with some guys. That seems to be the winning formula. Invest a little bit into that position, and invest a lot into the receivers, tight end, quarterback. Invest there. That's what the Chiefs did. That's what most teams that make it to the Super Bowl did. That's what the Giants did when they went to the Super Bowl. So that's the strategy that I would like to see them shift towards in the upcoming seasons.
Yeah, and here I'll give you my quick spiel on what I think the Giants should do with Saquon Barkley. I think that they should take him healthy next year, try and make him look amazing, try and get him to have a fantastic season, because what we're seeing right now is that 40-year-old, no legs, Alfred Morris is doing well. And really all it takes is a good offensive line to have some success running the football. They have 3 consecutive games with 140-plus rushing yards. Wayne Gallman's been eating people alive. And what does that tell you? Obviously that Saquon Barkley isn't a necessity. He's a luxury, right? Saquon Barkley is a luxury. And here's what I will say is you prop up Saquon Barkley next year. You make him the focal point of the offense. And then you say, okay, his value is sky high. We trade him for a first-round pick. We sign a guy who can fit our system, a running back who can fit our system for way cheaper than $16 to $20 million per season. You have an extra first-round pick, and then you plug those holes in the draft that you need. Whatever weaknesses you have, you plug them through the draft, and then you're seriously a Super Bowl, not Super Bowl, but a playoff team, and you're pretty confident that you're going to be a playoff team that year. I think that's what you do. I love Saquon. I have his color rush jersey. Like, I'm thinking about this from a general manager standpoint at this point. Like, I've learned a lot. I've listened. I've heard the arguments, and the conclusion that I've come to is that he's not really worth $16 to $20 million per season. He's missed majority of his career at this point, right? He actually has missed more games than he's played. So you have to keep that in mind when considering Saquon Barkley, that maybe it's just not worth paying a guy that much money who's been injured so much. And look, I love him as a leader. I love him as a guy. I love him as a person. But as a football player, you just can't invest into a player that has missed half his career already with injuries.
I agree, and I think that we're gonna get a little bit of hate for this. I think we might get like 8 dislikes on this video or something crazy for this for these takes that we have. But you gotta understand, it's just our opinion was asked, and we're just taking a look at how other winning teams around the league are doing it, and then kind of saying that that's what we would like to see. We still love Saquon Barkley, and we hope that he gets healthy really soon, comes back really strong, and I hope that he proves us wrong and becomes the greatest player of all time and helps us win 20 championships.
That would be ideal.
I don't know. That's what we want, It's just what we want and what we expect to see from reality can sometimes be 2 different things. So
that's exactly right. And on to the next question before we get too sentimental with Saquon. Giants guardian angel, appreciate you. Believe Giants defense will have to win the game, and the offense will have to do just enough to not lose the game. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's pretty much spot on. The defense is going to have to be the focal point of this game. They're going to have to stop the Seahawks on third downs. Third down's going to be huge. If you can stop them on third downs, maybe create a couple turnovers. Russell Wilson's had a big turnover problem this year, like big turnover problem this year. I think that they can actually sneak. By the graces of the football gods, I think they could sneak in a victory. But it's going to take the defense having one of the best performances we've seen from a Giants defense in years. That's what I feel.
Yeah, this offense is terrifying, the Seattle Seahawks offense. DK Metcalf has really come into his own this year. He was he was great last year. He is the best receiver in football, arguably, right now. That's debatable. I go Tyreek Hill. That's my hot take. I'm always going to say Tyreek is the best receiver in football. But right now, who's producing the most, who's leading the league in yardage, is DK Metcalf. He is absolutely killing it. Those moon balls from Russell Wilson, those deep dimes that he throws to Metcalf, it's really hard to cover that. And the Giants, the problem is if you scheme too much to try to defend DK Metcalf, then you leave things open for Tyler Lockett or maybe Chris Carson or maybe even Russell Wilson himself. You just have a lot of offensive pieces in Seattle that you have to account for and you have to try to defend. So, yeah, absolutely. If the Giants win this game, it's going to be because the defense puts together a incredible performance, and that is completely necessary for the Giants in this one. And, the offense will have to do just enough to not lose a game. I agree, because I don't expect Colt McCoy to have his best game of his career. I just expect him to try to not lose the game. And, hopefully he can get the ball in scoring position a few times and we can get the ball in the end zone a couple times on offense. And then hopefully the defense can really just play some lights out football, because that seems to be the winning formula for the Giants, is whenever their defense plays lights out.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at Russell Wilson's stats right now. He's only thrown 3 touchdowns the past 3 games. They just barely squeaked out a win over Philadelphia. Come on. Don't say things like that. We know he's a future Hall of Famer. But against Philadelphia, they only won 23-17. He only had 1 touchdown. He wasn't like elite by any means, but I will say this: he completes a crap ton of his passes. He's having an unbelievable completion percentage year, 70.7% completion percentage. That's the highest in his career by a pretty big margin. But what I will say is he's not throwing touchdown passes like crazy. They just got Chris Carson back there running back, which is tough for us. If Philadelphia can stay in the game with Carson, trash can Wentz as their quarterback, I think the Giants have a decent chance of at least staying competitive and making at least, driving it until the final drive of the game, pushing it to that limit. I think bending but not breaking, force them to kick field goals, don't give up touchdowns. That'll be the mantra this whole week. Don't give up touchdowns, force field goals. I'm okay with that.
Me too. Yeah, just don't get beat deep. Do not let the Seahawks beat you deep. That's really, keep everything in front of you. Maybe even drop back into those deep zones and just tackle. That might be the formula. I don't know. Patrick Graham, like we said, we sung his praises earlier. He's a genius. He definitely knows a lot more than we do. So I'm sure he's got a game plan in place. I'm sure he's been working tirelessly, and I'm excited to see what he puts together, and hopefully he can put together a winning formula.
Absolutely. And for the last question, Mark Cefaretti, your opinion about signing a veteran FA down the stretch? We might need some experience in the locker room, and injuries are growing. Obviously, when you are a playoff team, your outside linebacker unit is thin to the bone. Oceanic Zimenez is on IR. Lorenzo Carter's on IR. They're really rolling with Cam Brown, Jabal Shared, and Carter Coughlin. I could see them deciding maybe we take a shot at a free agent, but at the same time, I think that they want to stick with as many familiar faces as they possibly can, because they know the system, and it's all about coaching, right? It's all about these players knowing the defensive scheme, the system. And I think I will say this: I think I would rather have Cam Brown and Carter Coughlin earning reps right now than a veteran free agent signing, simply because they know the system. Would you disagree?
No, I agree, and I don't think they are going to sign anybody, because I think they already did. I think Jabal Sheard was that veteran free agent signing down the stretch for them. That's pretty much it, and he's played above expectations so far. He had that game-winning strip sack, so not much more you can ask for from a veteran that you just picked up off the streets, basically. So I think that was their veteran free agent signing. I don't see them doing anything more. The Alex Tanney signing that they're trying to get done, Yep. You got to keep in mind it's really hard to sign players right now with COVID. It's just kind of hard to have them in for meetings, have them in, sign them to the roster. It takes 10 days or something. So it's, I don't see them signing anybody else. And I'm actually very confident in who we have. I'm confident in Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. I want to see these guys grow into a larger, more defined role. I think that these are young players who have a lot of talent and just need an opportunity to showcase that talent and realize their potential. And I think that this is that opportunity for them, and I'm excited for them.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be a big game for us. I think if there's any game we can afford to lose, it's this one. But at the same time, you want to see the Giants remain competitive. You want to see Patrick Graham dial up a good scheme against this team. I think they're going to be really playing some deep coverages. Expect to see 2 safeties back there. I think Jabril Peppers, Logan Ryan, and Julian Love will be really protecting that deep half of the field. James Bradbury said it best. DK Metcalf loves his 9 routes, love those fly and go routes. That's his bread and butter. Those are the big plays that make a difference. And we know Russell Wilson throws one of the best deep balls in the game, and maybe if not the best deep ball in the game. So James Bradbury is going to have his hands full. I think he will end up man marking either Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. We'll see what happens there. But as long as the Giants can mitigate those big plays downfield, they can stay in this game. Give them the underneath, force them to make completions. Rush the passer, get those cornerback blitzes, those linebacker blitzes, make that interior defensive line work. And I think we'll see some success from the defense. But overall, it's going to come down to how many points can the offense put on the board. If they can get 20 points on the board, I think maybe we have a shot.
Yeah, well, you never know. Also, maybe the defense will put some points on the board. You never know. That would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I was saying when I was watching this Bengals game. Once Colt McCoy was in, I was like, man, I don't see this offense getting back in scoring position and winning this game for us. The defense needs to step up and score some points somehow. They need to get a pick 6 or fumble 6, right? And then, sure enough, Logan Ryan forces a fumble, and then somebody else forces a turnover, gets us in scoring position, or at least gets us the opportunity to kill some more clock before winning the game. So the defense really stepped up there. I think that we would have to see a similar scenario play out this week, where we need a clutch stop by the defense, or we need some points put on the board by the defense, and if they deliver, you never know, man. Like you said, any team is beatable. We saw that in our Super Bowl wins. We see it really every week in the NFL. So anything is possible, man. You never know. Maybe Colt McCoy steps out here, throws for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, and the Giants win with ease. You never know.
I will buy a Colt McCoy jersey if he does that.
Oh, I will too. I will buy a Colt McCoy jersey for myself and one to give away for the YouTube if he were to just dominate and win us this game. I will do that.
Yeah, you heard it here first. You got a jersey out of Anthony if Colt McCoy has an unlikely 500-yard plus game. Nonetheless, my friends, I appreciate all the questions. Thank you so much, for being a part of this community with Fireside Giants. We really love you guys and really appreciate all the support, and hoping to make this even more enjoyable as the Giants become a better team. That's fun. Covering winning teams and enjoying winning content. Wow. Like that, it's been a while. Anthony and I have been doing this for a couple of years now, and this is the first time the Giants have actually had some promise, some winning spirits, and I'm pretty excited about it. So thank you guys all so much for being a part of this community, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
TVSO.